You are listening to the It's Your Time podcast, and I'm your host, certified life coach Michelle Arnold Burke. In today's episode, I'm sharing a recent conversation with Galit Stam, where we talked about how to alchemize joy and elevate your energy. Welcome to the It's Your Time podcast, the podcast where busy professionals like you get the practical solutions and support you need to gain control of your schedule so you can strive to be the best in your career, but without the stress and overwhelm. If you're looking to increase your energy and decrease your stress, you are in the right place. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast, friends. Okay, it's another week. It's another hotel. I am joining you today from Minneapolis. No great view. Actually, it's late at night, which is not my normal time for doing podcasting, but we always figure it out. And I have an exciting episode that I am sharing with you today because I recently had a conversation with transformational coach and educator Galit Stam. Interestingly, her name means little wave. And I will tell you, I think she's making big waves in the world. We talked about how to alchemize joy. We talked about energy. We talked about having fun. She shared her personal story and how she has overcome some injuries, not some pretty major injuries, and really took what she has done for herself. And now she is sharing it with the world. So it truly is a way for you to think about possibilities and think about how you can make kind of everyday little magical moments. She is hysterical. You can hear her fun and energy in the conversation. And as always, I hope you take what works, leave, of course, what doesn't, which for this podcast, I don't think you're going to find anything. It's just so much fun. Okay, I am going to go ahead and let you take a listen. Okay, this is going to be so much fun. Can you get us started by introducing yourself in a way that you most enjoy right now?
Well, I have many roles, but I'm loving my role as a teacher of someone who alchemizes joy and healing. So I teach people how to become the best versions of themselves based on their thoughts and their energy. Yay.
I love that. I love that. And I think it's important if we even take a moment and give the listener a little bit of your background, because you had a serious back injury in your teens and were very frustrated through the years. And now this is your work, right? Like alchemizing joy, helping others. So can you maybe walk us through that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So at 19, I was a smart adult child. And my friends and I went mountain biking and we found this rope in the middle of nowhere and we swung on it. And we actually went back there multiple times. And this one time I went, there was a loop and I put my elbows in the loop and my elbow slipped out of the loop. My right dominant hand let go. And at this point, I was all the way out, swung all the way out. So 35, 40 feet above hard ground, like the side of a hill. And then I hear my friends going, "Don't let go." And of course, my mind is thinking, we don't hear the negative. So my mind is thinking, let go, let go, let go. And I'm like, no. Hold on. Thank God I was able to hold on until I swung most of the way back. And then I fell 12 to 16 feet or so. And I broke and dislocated my elbow, which was very obvious. And as soon as I landed, I said, I broke my back. And I'm lying face down in the dirt.
Oh my gosh.
They would not turn me over because I was like, I broke my back. And they're like, we're not touching her. Finally, the ambulance people came and they flipped me over. And long story short, it ended up being about 4.5 years of absolute agony. The pain was extremely intense. And I was told by every single doctor that I would just be in pain for the rest of my life and to take ibuprofen, a lot of it. And I listened because I needed to function. And the ibuprofen didn't even really relieve much. It just, I was taking it because I was so desperate. And of course, that created gut problems and other issues. And it led to really severe anxiety and depression because I had no hope of healing because literally every doctor said, don't jump. You'll be in pain for the rest of your life. We can do a little bit to remedy some of it, but for the most part, this is going to just be who you are. And that included physical therapists. I had a chiropractor who had me name each of my diseases every time I came in. He's like, okay, so what are your problems? Like degenerative disc disease and your left leg is shorter and you have scoliosis and all these. I'm just like, oh my goodness. And it felt yucky. It felt wrong, but they were the authority figures. They were the doctors, and I had to believe in them because I didn't know what else to believe in.
Mm.
And then had a miracle. And I really honestly believe that I needed to suffer those 4.5 years, because had I met this person prior, I don't think I would have believed or felt the need to follow. So I met this man, he was a chiropractor, and I consider him an absolute healer. And he said to me, he checked out my x-rays. I think he was just faking it. Like, sure, I'll look at your x-rays. I was like, sure, whatever. And he's like, yes, you can heal. And he was the first person to say that that was even a possibility. So I had been going based on probability, based on what all these doctors had been taught over the years, that, you see this case of this kid who's 19 years old, falls, breaks their back, that's it. Their life is over, and they will, they could do a little relief here and there somehow, but it's never going to heal. They're never going to be able to do the things that they love. And that's what I believed. And this guy told me otherwise, and it was so amazing. And I asked him, well, how long do you think it'll take to heal? Because I had seen chiropractors and they were like, 45 years or whatever, whatever, like never, you'll never. And he goes, well, he put that question back on me. He goes, well, how long do you think it'll take to heal? And I'm like, it's been 4.5 years. I'll take any amount of time, like 2 years.
Wow.
And he goes, 2 years is a long time. How about 2 months? At this point, I thought he was nuts because he's just pulling these numbers out of nowhere. Like, what are you even saying? It was so funny. But I really liked that idea. I thought he was crazy, but I also really that's great. I really like that. And the fact that you can tell me that, like, I'll know I'm not investing another $10,000, $20,000 because I had invested a lot of money in healing and nothing was working. I'm like, 2 months, I can afford that, okay, even if it doesn't work. And then he told me to start coming to his classes, and he was teaching something called concept therapy, where everything in life is a concept, and people put it in different terms, like a program or a personality. Everything becomes a concept in life based on what we're taught from our parents, our teachers, our authority figures, and that becomes our reality. And so I had believed one thing in the past based on possibility, and he was giving, or probability, excuse me, and he was giving me hope with possibility that I could change my concept from I will always be in pain to I can heal my body. And I was going to his classes every week, and within a month and a half, I woke up one day, was like, oh my God, like I'm not hurt. Like, I don't have pain. What is happening? I can walk 100 feet and not want to sit down and cry because I'm shooting pains down my legs. Like, what? This is crazy. And that was the first thing that really gave me hope that I had some power over how I was going to live my life. And
It's amazing. Like,
yeah,
I just feel like so much of what you said is so important because a lot of times when I'm doing these conversations, we're looking through the lens, and we still will be while we're doing the discussion of helping high achieving women and the inner dialogue and empowerment and stuff. But it even makes me just stop and think because in corporate, right, I work with pain patients, and it never even dawned on me. One thing that you just said, how every time a patient, and this doesn't have to be just pain patients, anytime a patient goes in, they go through your chart and they reinforce what it is that you have, quote unquote, going on that's wrong. And
yeah,
that's so interesting to think about that for any disease state and how you
absolutely.
can just change that.
Absolutely. And I knew it was wrong when it was happening. It made me feel really yucky, but I didn't know what else to do. That was just my authority figure was telling me I had to do this. And I kind of almost did it begrudgingly because he had good referrals and whatever. I wanted to heal, and I figured, I'll try this. And thank God I found someone else because it was not.
And then when did you make the change to be helping more people? So you were seeing the results in your life, and then
Yeah.
you took it another step, many steps
Yeah.
further.
Yeah. So I knew from when I was a little kid that I was going to be a teacher, and that's what I ended up pursuing. In 2006, I went back to school to get a degree in history so I could teach, and I did. And I've been teaching history and a little bit of English for about 17 years. And I was always sprinkling this in, and my thought was, and this is kind of how my parents thought, my husband thought, and you can't teach this stuff. This is so woo woo and out there. This is like nobody understands what this is, but you can teach history. Like that's a real job, you know? So I would sprinkle it in. I would have my students, for example, before an exam, I would have them take breaths and calm their nervous systems and focus on, I would say, you are the professor. You've been coming to class. You've been studying as best at yours that you can, and you know this material, and you're going to do amazingly well on this test. And I would get reviews and they'd be like, she's a good teacher and she's a little new age and a little woo woo. And I'm like, that's a compliment. I will take it.
I'll take it.
Yeah. And then, um, like I always wanted to teach this from like a month after I was healed. I was like, this is my path. I have to do this. And that was that whisper that I just kept ignoring because it didn't feel like reality. It didn't feel like it was possible. And again, I was living based on probability. Like I'm getting a steady paycheck as a teacher, as a professor, as whatever position I was in. And that was like, I knew I could teach. I ended up teaching thousands of students. And my goal was to change the world by teaching people history so that they would understand where we came from and how the world is the way it is. And I realized that that was no longer fulfilling in the way that it was originally. And I love teaching, and I knew I had to continue. And finally, about a year and a half ago, I had someone who asked me, like, you're looking for something. And it was actually Kathy Heller. She said, you're looking for what you want to do in your life. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, but you already know. Oh, that hit me so hard.
Yes.
I was like, yes, I do. Yes, I do. And so that's where I shifted to pursue this full time.
And it's so interesting because we talk about the importance of identity, and it sounds like you, for a while, had the identity of the pain patient, right? Thinking that it wasn't going to be able to be changed. You had the identity of being a teacher. And I think there are so many women who feel this way, right? Like there's something, that voice that's telling them they want something more, but they know where the safety is, right? And we're such people pleasers and perfectionist kind of thinking. Like, how do you tell the person that's listening, like, I guess, what was that path or what would you suggest for them? Because it's letting go of those identities is what, right? Like part of the hardest work that we do.
Yeah. So this is a big, this is really big. So the first thing I want to say is everything in the world is energy. So if you look at it, like just take it for a second back to an atom. An atom is protons, neutrons, and electrons that circle the atoms at kind of high speeds. And if you zoom into an atom, the nucleus, the mass of the atom, where all the weight is about 100,000 times smaller than the size of the actual atom. So, so if we were to look at the size of the nucleus of an atom and it's say the size of a dime, the electrons would be about a quarter mile away. Like that's really, and what is in between the mass of the atom and the electrons? It's all space, it's all energy. And that's kind of a crazy thing to think about. We are made up of atoms. Everything is made up of atoms, just moving at different frequencies, different energies. And so if you were to take all of our body and squish it down to just the mass of the nucleus, the protons and neutrons, we would be the size of a grain of salt. That's
Think about
really
that land for a minute. Yeah.
like, what are you even talking about? That's so insane. But if we think about us as a being in that way, we are straight up 99.99999% energy. And if we can change our energy, our outcome can change. If we can change our nervous system, our body, so that our body feels good, 80% of information goes from our body to our brain. So if our bodies feel good, if we are feeling comfortable in our bodies and our energy feels good and we can shift our mindset to be more positive, we really move from from probability to possibility. And there's so much that's available to us if we just open up and let go and relax in life. And there's so many examples of this that I can talk about. I think my most fun one is my husband. I went away to school. I
Full
had been
disclosure, that's you're talking about him.
I know he's okay. It's a good thing. I had been I went to Santa Monica College for a year, and in that year, I took honors classes. I worked for my parents in their interior decorating business. I really revamped a lot of the things there. And I had another fun job at the mall, and I babysat, and I had a boyfriend that I hung out with like once a week. And my whole life was, I was really a goody goody. And I finally was going to go to college. I went away and I met this guy the first day moving into the dorms. And I was like, oh, he's cute. Like, we'll do that for like 3 weeks. Like, I was ready to go out and have fun. And just, I was so content with who I was. I was not looking for anything long term. I really wanted to just play and enjoy my life. And lo and behold, we've been together for 27 years now.
Wow.
So that's just one example of just letting go and not wanting something so much that it becomes a desperate need for it. When there's need, the universe hears our emptiness and it responds with more emptiness. So if we desire something so much, it's a lack mindset. And so if we just let go, don't worry about the outcome, don't worry about the how, which is so hard for all
Yes.
of those high achieving people who
Yeah.
are like, what do you mean? I have to have the outcome. It has to happen.
Yes. I was exactly going to say that. That was going to be my next question because I do think even when I started this work, it was, and I've talked to Kathy about this as well. Like I was so mindset oriented, like change your thoughts, change your thoughts. It was all above the neck, right? And so all of this work that we talk about, and I'm such a believer of the energy work, but it took me a while because people would say like, just let it be easy, and there's still part of me that's like, I don't know. So I do think when people are listening and they think, okay, this is woo, easy is slacking off, like because we've been told you have to work hard. And I
Yeah.
think that's such a deep rooted and part of me is still like, well, you do have to work hard, but it can also be easy. Like, what can that look like for somebody who's so holding on to the thinking that it can't be so easy? Like, what would you say?
I would say if it's fun, then you're on the right path. And if it's so hard that you're struggling to the point of like frustration and breakdown and overwhelm, that's not the right path. That's the universe telling you to take a breath. And really, we can be on our correct path, but in a state of overwhelm. I had several learning challenges growing up, and my focus was all over the place. And I thought in order to be successful, I had to work really, really hard. I would aim for A's and I would push so hard. And I'd end up doing fairly well with grades. But thinking back, I think I would have changed things. When I was in grad school, I never went hiking. My husband would go hiking with our friends, and I was like, a whole day away from my studies? What? I can't do that. But what ended up really happening for a long time was I would study to the point of like the words were blurring. I wrote a thesis and I have no idea what I wrote. It's all a blur. And I would write these papers and I would study and I would read like 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for years. When I first started teaching history at the college level, I was so freaked out about not being perfect that I literally was working 60 to 70 hours a week, period, every single week. And I loved what I was doing and I did a good job at it. But in hindsight, my PowerPoints were so perfect, they did not need to be that perfect. And I had studied all these things um that showed me the right way to do things, and I wanted it to all be perfect. And maybe my font would have been not the perfect size, but I think my body would have been so much more regulated and I would have done a better job. I would have been more efficient had I taken that day to go hiking every once in a while. Maybe not every day of the week, but taking some time to regulate my nervous system, to calm my body so I wasn't in a constant state of overwhelm so I could perform at my highest. And I think that's where a lot of people don't understand the value of slowing down, taking literal breaths, going for a walk around the block. And I'm not saying 40 hours a week you have to go do you time stuff, but little things here and there, waking up, taking 3 deep breaths, setting a clear intention for your day is so powerful to get the day going in the right direction. And if you're feeling stuck, oxygenate your brain with some air, like actual oxygen in your brain. It's really important. And
Shocker, this
yeah,
just in.
well, we breathe, but we don't think about it. And people are like, "Oh, I don't do breath work. I don't do that." I'm like, "You are literally breathing right now." Like, yeah, you
I
can do
say
it.
that all the time. I'm like, "You are." I'm just suggesting you be a little more intentional with it.
Like a bigger breath, not through your chest, through your
Yes.
belly. And so, but what happens is when we do learn how to take care of our bodies by taking a 10-minute walk in the middle of the day, by listening to some tones for 3 minutes, for doing a 3-minute meditation, for whatever it is, tiny, taking our tea and actually sipping and smelling and tasting the tea or coffee or water that we're drinking. It's so powerful, bringing presence back into our life, calming our bodies, calming our brains, regulating, chilling out just a little, and then the creativity comes back. And then we move into flow state. So it's not lazy. It's not the easy way. It's the right way so that your body can work at its highest performance level so that you don't feel a state of overwhelm and you can actually get some fun, awesome work done.
Yeah, I love this so much. I feel like too, you mentioned earlier, like the anxiety part of it. And I think in sales, especially in our industry, there's this busy badge of honor. And so everybody feels like they have to like, and it's competitive and that's fine, but it's like it can also be the power of and. So you can still be in a competitive my thought is you can still be in this competitive environment, but you don't have to subscribe to what everybody else is saying. And I do feel like when you're talking about I'll suggest meditation. People are like, I don't have time for that. And I'm like, listen, I was you. Like, I get it. That means you need it the most. I mean, I started with like 1 or 2 minutes and I would literally set an alarm and then I'd be peeking because I'd be like, is this minute up yet? Now I need minimum 20 minutes. And I just can tell I show up better for everyone when I know my energy is in check, right? You're laughing.
I'm
You're like,
sorry. This is so on point. A few years ago, I realized I had 9 roles in my life. I was teaching multiple different subjects. I was the head of the parent association at my kids' school. I was the head of the security team at my kids' school. I was coaching soccer. I was a mom, a wife, a dog mom, like all these things. I had 9 roles in my life. And that is when I realized I needed to take some breaths. And what I think is really special is the idea of starting in teeny tiny bite-sized chunks. I was going to say a joke here, like, okay, here's what we have to do. Meditate for 1 hour, exercise for 1 hour, do journaling for 1 hour. And then like, who are we kidding? Nobody has that kind of time. And if you do, bless you. And I'm a little jealous, but really taking 2 minutes, 2 minutes, that's all we need to start. And then you start to crave it because you realize how good your body feels, how your brain flows a little bit better, how you can breathe, how you're not anxious, how you can think clearly and there's more focus and more drive and more excitement because you're enjoying what you're doing because you feel good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will tell you, like, when I look back when I first started this, a lot of the times the anxiety, the stress, the overwhelm, it would be at the end of the day, then I need to have a glass of wine because I have to unwind and I have to be able to relax. And then the next day I would be like shaming myself for having a glass of wine the night before or 2 glasses, right? So it's this vicious cycle of what we do to ourselves. And I love what you just said about taking the time to look at all the roles that you have. Like, I even suggest people listening do that. Like, look at how many different roles you have in your life, because I feel like at the end of the day, we end up going to bed thinking, oh, I didn't do that, and I forgot to do that, and I didn't get that done. And it's really being intentional with what we're telling ourselves. And you talk about that, right? The internal language and the words that we're using and how that can mean like everything.
Absolutely. So, the first thing that I learned in concept therapy is to change our language. When we have words that we are saying to ourselves, our subconscious and the universe hears those words, and that's what we get more of. And so, if we're constantly like, oh, I don't have time for that, I don't have time for that, I don't have time, I don't have time, that's what the universe tells you. And you're just going to get more stuff that you need to do, whether you want it or not. And so, we can start saying, changing the vocabulary, I have plenty of time. And at first, it might even feel a little fake,
Oh,
but
yes. I had a coach early on who was like, "You could say I have more than enough time." I'm like, "Is she nuts? Like, what is she talking? She doesn't know my schedule." Like,
I have plenty of time. But it's so interesting how many diseases and ailments come from that mindset of not having enough time. Like parts of our bodies stop working properly when we literally have that mindset of not having enough time. There are a lot of metaphysical causes for our ailments, and that's a big one because it's so prevalent in our society. And you're right, like, oh, it's like that badge of honor, like, "Oh, I worked a 60-hour work week this week." Like, "Congratulations, would you like an award?" Like, where are you spending time with your family and your friends? Like, what is happening right now? This is
yeah.
crazy. Um,
And I think it's important to have the just even the glimmer, right? That like it can be possible that you can still be super successful and not be doing the 60, 70 hours, because to your point, you bring clarity to your brain and you think differently and you think about new possibility. Like you keep talking about like what else could be possible, like things that you wouldn't even imagine start showing up in your life.
oh, that's so true, 100%. Checks start coming in out of nowhere, which is very entertaining when that happens.
Yeah.
My husband works in a corporate arena, and there have been periods of time where I'm able to convince him, like, we're going to take a 10-minute walk during the day. And he's got literally 7 hours of meetings scheduled back to back. Sometimes I've walked in on him and he's like, I'm in 3 meetings. I can't talk. I'm like, what are you even saying? Like, that makes no sense. How are you in 3 meetings right now? He's like, well, I'm texting in one and I'm messaging in the other and I'm paying attention to this one. And if I hear my name here, then I'm like, oh no, this is not good. But if I can convince him, and every once in a while I break through, and then we take a 10-minute walk, and I got him these tones, these little speakers that make noises for 3 minutes. It's literally like 3 minutes. And when he can pause and listen to them, his whole everything changes. And then rather than like focusing on the challenges that have happened, we focus on the positives. Like, tell me something good that happened today. Tell me who you worked with that was wonderful. Tell me how great your boss is. Something great about your boss, even when we're having challenges with the boss. Like, tell me something great about the boss. And just pausing, taking some breaths. I think outside time is really important too. Like, go outside, smell an actual flower. A real one, not a fake one, and just take some breaths. It changes things so profoundly in our lives, and it's so beautiful to think about and witness those tiny little things. I'm not talking 3 hours in your day. I'm talking like 10 minutes here, 2 minutes here, 3 minutes here, and it really, really makes big, big changes. And positive things happen. He works with amazing people. He gets these great projects, all these things.
Oh,
So,
I 100% believe. And it's funny you talk about that because I do feel like when I can get there, I have all of a sudden like an unexpected bit of money comes in. I'm like, well, where did that come from? I don't need to know how. I will just accept it. Thank you very much, universe. Get more, please.
thank you. I received that.
I received that. I have been working on that. That's funny you say that because especially with the Kathy work, right? It's like the working on the growing the capacity to receive, because I have been very much like, I'll do it myself. Like I feel like I'm an Aries, and so I don't need your help. I will just do it myself. But I feel like that's like this is my next shift because I will be willing to receive. So it's so funny. I came home from a work trip and Mark came out and he was helping me with my bag. And I'm usually like, I got it. I got it. And I was like, thank you very much. I received that. He's like, "Wow, normally you tell me to beat it."
But we are strong, independent women and we are proud and we can do it. Yay.
I will receive that, thank you.
Uh, it's same with like compliments, you know. So many of us are trained to be humble and modest, and therefore we can't accept a compliment. I remember when I was a little kid, someone said something to me, and I was surprised. Like they're giving me a compliment. Like, is this real? Are you being mean? Are you tricking me? And then someone else was like, "That was a compliment. You can say thank you." And I was like, "What?" But that's kind of how we're trained, how our parents trained us. You are very modest. You don't accept things from other people. We are not charity. You work hard. In order to be a good person in your family, you have to be hardworking. And that has been ingrained in our society so heavily. The idea of having an easy life seems like spoiled, like we're spoiled if we do that, or we're greedy if we do that, or it really doesn't make sense, because if we are feeling good and at ease, our energy alone changes the room, changes the environments around us, changes our neighborhood. I don't know about you. I'm one of those crazy people who, whenever I pass anyone, I smile and I wave or I say
It scares
hello.
them.
It's I don't have two heads, you guys. I only have one head. It's so funny. But then most of the time, sometimes they're literally terrified, but most of the time they look back at me and their face just glows with a smile back. Like there's this person who, first of all, noticed my existence, and secondly, gave me positive energy. And that smile changes their whole vibration, and their whole day can change based on that. And so, really, our energy alone is what's valuable. It's not the projects that we do, it's how we make people feel. That's it.
I love that, and I feel like I always want to think about the ripple effect, and when you're able to do that, and then they pass it on, right? We don't even know. So we're so results oriented, we don't even know the results that are happening when we're showing up in that way, and our energy. And I wanna just touch base or kinda go back a little bit because we've talked about taking a breath, and I think it's important to reiterate what you said because, like, it's not the breath of, like, right? It's like really taking a deep breath, and I think a lot of times people don't understand, and we don't have to go deep into, like, chakras and stuff, but I do feel like it would be nice to hear from you as far as, like, the breath and energy and how that can kind of clear and what your thoughts are on that because I do think if somebody wants to take a minute or two, it would be good just to kind of make sure they know what we're talking about when we say taking the breath.
Okay, yeah. So there's one breath that's my favorite that I've taught everyone from third grade students through college students. I've shared it with my children from when they were little kids, now they're 10. And it's something that I do often during my day, and especially if I'm trying to fall asleep and my brain is going 100 miles an hour, or my favorite at 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning. That's my favorite time to be up and to be thinking about all the things. So I need to calm my brain. And part of breath work, something that's so special is that even 2 to 3 breaths can calm and reduce cortisol levels in our bodies. And cortisol is that drug that we produce that's very necessary in certain occasions. If someone cuts you off in the road and you're driving on the freeway, you need a spike of adrenaline and some cortisol to make sure that your focus is on it so that you can avoid an accident. And after the threat is gone, whether it's a car or a puma or your mother-in-law or your boss or whatever it is, once that threat is no longer there, you should be able to reduce cortisol levels back to a normal degree in about 90 seconds. And the problem is that most of us are running at a constant state of overwhelm. We have a million things going on and we are freaking rock stars. We are getting it all done. And then something happens and we freak out. We start crying or screaming or having high anxiety or whatever. Our bodies react in such an intense way because we are at a constant state of overwhelm and our cortisol levels are at such a constant high that any tiny little thing happens and boom, our lid is flipped and that's it. We can't handle it anymore. What's so special about breath work is that it can reduce cortisol levels by up to 30%, which is amazing.
Awesome.
And so my favorite breath is, I call it a box breath. There are lots of different ways to call it. I've heard it many different things. Box breath makes sense to me because it's like you're making a box with your breath. So you count in for holds of 4, or you count in for 4, you hold for 4, out for 4, and hold for 4. And you do that 4 times. And if you do that 4 times, it's about 16 seconds around. So it's about 1 minute. Like literally 1 minute.
I was like, literally, we're not saying sit for 30 minutes and do breath
No, it's like literally 1 minute. Sometimes I need to do 2 of those rounds. And what I do is it's not enough for me to just count the breaths in my head. I use my fingers to count. So I can even use 2 hands. So maybe I'll count the in, hold, out, hold with 1 hand. And then the rounds I'll count with my other hand.
Okay.
And that helps me really focus on breathing and on my fingers. So it's really hard at this point for my brain to wander and think about other things. And that's really nice because, like I said, at 2 in the morning,
Yeah.
I have all the thoughts.
Yes, yes. I think anyone there are a number of people listening that probably can, yes, go along with that too. It can get
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So that's so simple. So literally in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, and hold for 4. You do that 4 times. Maybe you do 2 rounds. That's like literally 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And the cortisol levels drop. And the cortisol is that fight or flight feeling where either we want to fight something or we want to run away. And it also could be a freeze or fawn. Freeze is like, I think of deer in the headlights, where we can't function. We just stand still in our place and don't even know how to react. And fawning, I think of fawn like a deer. And I think of the deer like rolling over onto their belly and like onto their back and like belly up, like, please be nice to me. Look at how cute I am. And with that comes all the people pleasing and let me say yes when I really want to say no. And the like, how can I calm the situation in any way possible to make sure that my body is safe, that my situation is safe, that the environment is safe, regardless of how that makes me feel or the effects on me and my body. So if we can reduce that drug that our body makes, it's just so much better. Our lives run so much more smoothly. And then we're not in a constant state of overwhelm. And what's interesting to think about, some people are like, oh, meditation doesn't work for me. Breathwork doesn't work for me. Well, it's like an accumulation and it works immediately. So yes, within like 1 or 2 minutes, your cortisol levels can drop tremendously. But if you do this every day for a few weeks, you might start to notice like real changes in your daily where you're not always hyper anxious about every little thing. You're not worried so much about the little details because you're starting to regulate your nervous system, regulate your body. And I think I said it earlier, about 80% of information comes from our bodies to our brains. And so if our bodies feel calm, our brains work just so much more smoothly. It's pretty
I was just
powerful.
going to say that. I feel like once you are able to do that and calm it and reduce the cortisol, then you're able to take a moment and think about the priorities and really think about your yeses and your nos and about boundaries and about all of it because you just give more intentionality to your everyday.
Absolutely.
This has been so much fun. Have we missed anything? I feel like we could talk for hours.
Absolutely. You're my new bestie. This is great.
Is there anything else or you think we're good for
Yeah.
this round?
For right now, yeah, sure. I think we covered a lot. So, and I don't want to overwhelm your audience with too much information. There's a lot in this, a lot we
So
talked
many
about.
good things. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I have a website. It's www.alchemizejoy.com. Alchemize is spelled ALCHEMIZE. Alchemizejoy.com. And alchemy is when we take base metals and turn it into gold. And so in this case, we're taking our language, our thoughts, our words, and we're turning it from not great to positive so that we can literally manifest the life that we desire in every way.
I love that. And we'll have that in the show notes for sure. This has
Thank
been
you.
so much fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, wasn't that so much fun? I think one of my biggest takeaways from this conversation is really in the idea of the power of having fun and why this really matters. We know that being in a state of ease and happiness allows us to relax, to feel safe, to be open minded, and to learn. And when we learn, we evolve. When we feel good, we focus on joy and gratitude. And that's when we're able to move into that state of being open to receiving. That, my friends, is where the gold really is. Okay, I want to remind you to please make sure you connect with Galit and look at all of her stuff. It just puts you in a better mood listening to her, checking out her stuff, and I highly encourage you to do so. Also, if you want to get on my email list, don't forget michelleburkecoaching.com/newsletter. Every Sunday, I send you almost like a little love note. We talk about some neuroscience tools. I share some behind the scenes information. It is a great place to just get more free resources in order for you to make your next move. Okay, friends, that's what I have for you today. Let's meet back here next week. But for now, make it a great day. Take care. Did you know you can take this work to a deeper level with me one-on-one? Go to michelleburkecoaching.com and click on Get Started to begin.